Okay. First of all, since we are a Kabbalah Kailel, or Kailel Apisayt, tonight is Ari'Zal's Yartzeit, so everybody should have in mind, for any bakashas or skulas or anything that they have in mind for, you should say that whatever tefillah you want to say, it should be as a schus that we learn the Torah of Rabbeinu Yitzchak ben Rav Shlomo, that b'schusai he should be a melitz yoshev for us, and for Gans Klal Yisrael, that now in Eis Tzara, that b'schusai he will, but as they say, go to bat for us. Now, everybody in the individual needs, and Klal Yisrael in general is in Eis Tzara, some a little more specific now than normally, but the Eis Tzara is always. So I wanted to start off with a Maisa. The reason why the Beis HaMikdash was Charav, everybody knows, al Sinas Chinam. So what's the tikkun for it? Ahavas Chinam. How do you show Ahavas Chinam? So I want to say over like a shtickle story of people who went out of their way to show Ahavas Chinam, that under normal circumstances people would not have done that. So there's a Maisa there was a salt dealer in the town of the Chayza of Lublin. And he used to sell salt. That was his business. How much salt you can make, I don't know, but he made a parnas out of it. And because of that, I'll tell you the Maisa, he was zeicher to a very chashuv Edom, who turned out to be one of the Greiser Rebbes. Happened was that across the street from him opened up a big store, and as part of the store he was selling salt. So most of the people, they're going to buy apples or whatever else they're buying, so they'll buy their salt also. They're not going to go special to a salt dealer. So he was very upset. So he ran to the Chayza of Lublin and he said, what should I do? I should shut him down. I'll make a campaign against him or whatever. So Chayza said, no, don't do anything. Rabbi Shalom has cheshbonos. He has parnasim for everybody. Whatever you do should be on a good oifen to create a chibur between you and the other guy. So what did he do? So he went over to the guy who opened the competitive store. He said, I want to explain to you the salt business. And he told him all the ins and outs of the salt business, everything that he should do and what will work and what won't work and everything like that. He gave him all the sides of the business. And he said, I'm giving it to you as a havas chinam. The havas chinam, which is not normal, especially today, about competitors, everybody's killing each other. There's a Maisa havas chinam that he was zeicher to a tremendous amount of hatzlacha in his parnasa, and that his kids did the very chashuv sheduchim and so forth. So mashal havas chinam, which is what we're going to call a tikkun for what we do today for sinas chinam, which is plenty to go around. I don't need to say Maisas of sinas chinam. I just heard a Maisa from Rabbi Lech Biderman. I think he gave the drasha this week, so I shouldn't really say it over because everybody knows it already. But just in case the few people who don't, it's a chizuk Maisa anyways. You know it already? Probably. So there was a bacha in yeshiva that Rabbi Yochanan Wasner, who was a dayan in Montreal, was speaking and learning to a younger man, and this younger man knew Kol HaTorah Kula in a mishuna dika oifen, not on a normal way. He knew Shas and he knew Psak and he knew Kol HaTorah Kula in an unusual way for a guy who was 26-year-old. So he wanted to know what the story was. So he met the guy's father and he asked him, "What's the story?" I'm saying the story Bekitza because you probably heard it already. But either way, he said he met the father. The father said, "I'll tell you a story that happened." There was a bach who came into yeshiva who was like in the 9th grade. He was very shy. My son at the time was in the 10th grade, and this bach who was very, very shy, he didn't want to really talk to anybody because he had a bad stutter, and he was afraid people would make fun of him. So therefore, he didn't talk too much, and he certainly did not want an aliyah in yeshiva because then all the bachim would hear it and stuff like that. They'll make fun of him. But Vayihi Hayoim, the Gabbai felt that this guy didn't get an aliyah the whole year. It's time to give him an aliyah. So he gave the guy an aliyah. Sure enough, he gets up to the Torah, and he stuttered terribly, and it was a terrible bezayin. And this bacher who was in the 10th grade felt that it's going to be come breakfast time and everybody's sitting together. It's going to be a major embarrassment for this bacher. So what did he do? He went over to the Gabbai and he said, "Please, please, please give me Hagba." So the Gabbai gave him the Hagba. So what did he do? He did it a backwards Hagba like you do on Simchas Torah. And so everybody's screaming, it's not Purim, it's not Simchas Torah, Mechatesi, you can't do a backwards Hagba. Eilam was tummeling. So once they were tumbling about him, they forgot all about this bacher who got the aliyah and was stuttering. So he had no bisyonis, everybody forgot about it. It was a ma'aser of havaschinim. For that, he was zeicher to chachma, shaloi b'derech hateva. He was able to learn kol ha-Torah kula. Just saying these ma'asers because since the pigam that caused the churban, it says in all this farm was al sinas chinam, so therefore, what we have to do is look for ways to do ahavas chinam. So now I just want to talk about a little bit about Chodesh Av, which is now Yartzeit. You don't think of it as a fakir that the Shechina is far away from us, which it is, a Shechita Begalusa, but we think of it as Yartzeit because what's our job? As you know, in Al Pisaid, you're supposed to be Mekarev, the Zah to the Nuk, which is the Malchus, and how does it come about? The Malchus is the Shechina. And how does it come about? Through Ma'aser Tachtainim, through our Ma'asim, Mitzvahs, Torah, and so forth. So, as you know, there's a very big movement now that everybody is being Mekayim, the mitzvah of Tzipisa Yeshua, with a very stark enthusiasm. So, of course, everybody's Mekayim, it's a mitzvah Gedolah to think of the Geula Shleima that's going to come. Problem is, that when people get very, very excited that he's coming tomorrow morning or he's coming today, and then he doesn't come, so along comes the Sitra Achra, and he makes people depressed. Then all of a sudden they have a Chesaron in Emunah. Why do I have to wait so long, and life is so hard, and I can't go on like this anymore? Rather had today, it was a couple of 30-year-old girls came to me for a bracha or whatever. So one of them tells me, I said, what's the issue? Like, you have to mechazik yourself. So she says, I can't be mechazik myself. If I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and I'm mamish depressed from waiting so long. So, a good piti for her I didn't have, but I'm just going to tell you what I told her, that Rebbeinu Shalom, and it's the same thing, says in the pasuk in Mishlei, Techachas megula ahava mesuteres. Toiva techachas megula me'ahava mesuteres. What is that? What that is, the Rebbeinu Shalom constantly is giving what we perceive as Einshim. Right? If a person's not finding the Shidduch, or a person's hoping for the Geula, Mashiach didn't come yet. So all these things is what you can consider a Techachas Megula. Rebbeinu Shalom gives you what you can see as an open sort of punishment. Your depression from not getting the things that you want is a Techachas Megula. And what is it really? It's really an Ahava Mesuteres. Why? Because the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to eventually give you what you need. The Megula will come. The girl's Shidduch will come. It's just not coming now. So the tsar that person has from it not happening right now is a gewaltige kapara for that person. When they come to us and love it, they'll have a very, very stark kapara from these feelings, which is coming strictly from the Sitra Achra, that feeling of depression, that not getting what you want, and I'm davening so hard, and I did Perek Shira for already 20 times 40 days, and all the kabbalas that they take on themselves, and they don't feel that it's working. So they have to look at it as a Techachas Megula and Ahava Mesuteres. And it's very similar to also that we know that the Beis HaMikdash is standing. But it's the Beis HaMikdash Shel Eish, and it's standing upstairs, and it's Pashut waiting to come down. It's not like it's not here, it's here. But we don't see it, and it's Pashut waiting to come down. So it's waiting for that opportunity that Klal Yisrael will be doing Rev Mitzvahs and Rev Torah and so forth. So when that opportunity comes into place, then obviously the Geula will come, and the Geula will be all those people who are suffering from the Geula not coming will have extra special schuyas of that they were mitzapim liyeshua, special mitzvah mitzapim liyeshua. And of course, it's a fine line, because if you go too stark in that line, a person could get depressed. And it's Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. and that's one of the key tools of the Sitra Achra, is to come into a person and make them depressed. Right? You could ask all the therapists in town how many medications they're giving out on a regular basis. So that's one of the tools of Atzvus, and the way to fight that tool of Atzvus is through Simcha. And how does Simcha come? Simcha, as you know, is Oisias Chamisha. I've said this many times. Chamisha is a reference to Chamisha Chumshei Torah. It comes about through learning. Also wanted to say two other things. As you know, when a person has a chaver, what does a chaver mean? That you're connected. Chibur, lashon chibur, we're connected, right? So I have a friend. It's called my chaver because I'm connected to him on such a oifen. What's the opposite of the chaver? If I'm separate from the chaver, so then there's lashon churban, lashon chorav, right? So it just shows you, like mipnei that we say that Sinas Chinam was the garden of the Beis Hamikdash, because you see very clear. When you go from Chaver, it goes to Chorav. So Sinas Chinam was the Beis Hamikdash was Chorav because it was less of an application of the Chaverim. I wanted to say another thing. That I'm saying it out beside, I'm repeating it over from Shabbat Nostropolia. It's really a long drasha, but I'm just going to cut it down to few things that he says. He says that one of the main klippas is called Beis Tov Yud Beis. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm afraid if you pronounce it correctly, you may be calling him in. So we're not going to do that. But it says in the pasuk, in pasuk Chaf, Perek Aleph, Babayis, that says that word Babayis, and that is same Oisias as Beis Tov Yud Vav. In Kedusha, the Ashin Lamed Aleph Netzoisis Kedusha, which they have the koyach to be mevatel this klipa of Beis Tov Yud Beis. What's the application to it? So Shin Lamed Aleph is really Oisias Eshel, like it says by Avram Vayita Eshel Bebe'er. This word Babayis, how are you makayim that mitzvah of Eshel? So you invite somebody to your house, and you give them achila, shtia, and you malava them. So that would be and that's babayis, right? So instead of having that beis tough yud beis, it should be those oisias. If you do it babayis and you mekayim the eshel, so you have the ability to knock that klipa out, right? And what is that telling us? It's showing us the same thing like you have. That was caused the churban was the sinas chinam. Somebody who you invite to your house to be mekayim the achil shtia levia is pashas not going to be a sinas chinam. And you can see a raya from Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, right? He made a party. Had he let him stay and be mekayim with him eshel, right? So then it wouldn't have had that issue. So because, in other words, you could teach that Yana Klipa was there in the house at that time, and he was instigating all the things that he does, and the return. So you know now that the counter to it is achila shtia levia. So just what's the limud? What's the avoda for Tisha B'av? So of course the ike is to be lashon chaver, be mechaber. Of course we're talking about people, but more importantly we're talking about that we should have our personal connections to Kodesh Brichu. Lehis chaber, right? There should be a chibur. There should be a chibur that we should be able to be maila enough to bring out, that we should be able to make lemaila a chibur bein za lenuk zachar nekeva, and with that chibur will be mailed the Mashiach Tzidkenu and b'mhera v'yameinu, and we should all be zoicher to geula shalema b'karav. And especially that's tonight is a Yartzeit of the Ari'Zal and Hey Av. The dafka comes out in Hey Av. Obviously, there's no coincidence because it's a hamtokas hadin that between now and Tisha B'av, chakaloi b'chol yom sheyavai.